Konnichiwa minasan. Hello friends, how are you? Welcome to Saral Japani YouTube channel and today is lesson 24, Japanese honorifics. Friends, every society and culture has politeness and formality in various ways and Japan is no exception. In fact, polite gesture is an integral part of Japanese culture. The Japanese people are so polite and humble that they have honorific titles even for small kids. The seniors talk to the juniors with high respect and politeness there. In today's lesson, we shall learn about some very commonly used honorific titles in the modern Japanese society. So let's begin with today's lesson. Lesson 24, Honorifics. Honorifics or honorific titles, what are these? In English, we have titles like Mr., Miss, Mrs., Professor, Doctor, Captain, Coach, Your Honor for a judge, Reverend to a member of the clergy, Your Highness, we call it for King, Prince, Princess, etc., Honorable, as in case of Prime Minister, His Excellency, as in case of President in many countries. So these are basically the honorific titles, that is, the titles that are used to show respect. Now, what are similar honorific titles in Japan? In Japan, we have the most common as san, and this dash sign before san, it means that this is a honorific suffix. So this is added at the end of the name of a person. So san, and we shall look at each of these in detail in the next slides. So for the time being, this is the summary. So the first one is san, then we have sama, we have kun, we have chan, we have she. So all these are honorific suffixes, and there are two prefixes which are o and go, and then we have some specific honorifics for special persons like the teacher, which is sensei. We have senpai. This is used by the juniors to address their seniors, and kohai. This is the reverse of senpai. That is, the seniors, when addressed to their juniors, they use kohai. Apart from these, there are many other honorific titles, but these are the most common ones that are used in the present Japanese society. So we will be looking at each of these in detail now. So let's move ahead. The first and the most common one is san. So you can see it's written in hiragana, san. So san is a polite honorific used in a very generic sense, and it is not very excessively formal, although it is a formal honorific, but it's not that excessively formal. We can refer to anyone we don't know, regardless of status or age, using san. It is gender neutral and works functionally like Mr., Miss, and Mrs. in English, but is much more commonly used. That is, one cannot avoid an honorific in Japan. So what this means is, in other cultures, like in English or in any other language or culture, we may directly address a person with his name without adding this Mr., Miss, and so on. But in Japan, that is not allowed. In Japan, every person has to be addressed using an honorific. Otherwise, it will be very, very rude gesture and it's totally unacceptable there. So one has to keep in mind that one has to add an honorific title at the name of a person in Japan. And if there is any confusion about the type of honorific to be used, simply use san. So this is a generic and can be used anywhere for anyone. So san is the most commonly used honorific and can be used to address practically any adult. As I said, for example, managers, colleagues, friends, relatives, and all strangers. The second honorific and the second most important is sama. Sama means it's used basically to show great respect to individuals who are older or higher ranking than you. So it is excessively formal and commonly used by businesses when referring to customers, by announcers addressing crowds, when referring to deities and divine entities, and to refer to the emperor and his family. Even the name of companies of customers may be addressed using sama. For example, Nissan sama, Docomo sama, Toyota sama, and so on. And uh, as it is mentioned here, so when we address our customer, be it a person or a company, we always use sama. In that case, we do not use san. And this sama may be considered equivalent to sir or madam in English. So this is what sama is. Next is kun and chan. Kun is common among friends and younger people. Nowadays in Japanese television, Kun and Chan appear frequently as nicknames among friends in Japanese pop culture. Kun is the more respectful of the two, but is still rather informal. So this is a casual honorific, and it's used more commonly for men and boys than women and girls. Kun has become more common for higher ups to refer to juniors at work, regardless of the gender, and for teachers to simply use san for everyone, regardless of gender. So, this is an important point that kun is used by the higher management at workplace to refer to the juniors, irrespective of the gender. And teachers, instead of addressing the students using kun, they have started using san for the students. Then Chan is more feminine. It has a cute and childlike connotation, and it takes its roots from children mispronouncing son. So we know that children, uh, they they are not able to pronounce the words uh, in their original form. So son, some children call it as Chan. So from there it has originated. So the origin of Chan is basically son. So it's never used at workplace, and it's very, very childlike uh, addressing. So this is used for very small children, the babies, and also mostly for baby girls. So this is Kun and Chan. So to summarize, these are used for younger people. Then we have she. So it's not common for personal communication. Rather, it is used in news or news related items on radio and television. And it is highly unlikely in personal communication. It is used when politely referring to strangers and is fairly formal. In news items, she can also be used on its own once the person has been introduced, as long as there is no one else it could be referring to. That is, it can be used as a pronoun like we use as he or she. So in that sense also she may be used. Then we have o or go. So these are used when referring to certain objects and nouns in polite speech. For example, cha is the word for green tea, which has its origin in Chinese. But cha, this green tea, is commonly almost exclusively referred to as ocha in day-to-day business, in day-to-day Japanese. Thus, O is an honorific prefix here, and cha thus becomes ocha. Similarly, sakana, which is fish in Japanese, is sometimes referred to as osakana to show respect for the fish. And o or go, these are also used in family honorifics. For example, the word you would use to casually address your older brother is Nisan, but when being more polite or formal, it becomes Onisan. Nisan, Onisan. So this is O. Then we have the final set of honorifics for today's lesson. These are Sensei, Senpai, and Kohai. Let's see what are these. Sensei is used to address teachers, doctors, lawyers, politicians, great artists, or other authority figures. That is to show respect or special respect, in fact, to acknowledge their higher level of mastery or skill. Senpai is used by the junior students to address the senior students at school, college, playgrounds, sports clubs, and other places of interaction. And Kohai is used by the senior students to address their juniors at school, college, playgrounds, sports clubs, and other places of interaction. So Senpai and Kohai are opposite to each other. So, friends, that's all for today's lesson 24, that is Japanese honorifics. And we have learned the most commonly used honorifics in the modern Japanese society. So, to summarize, if you are not sure which honorific title to be used in day to day life in Japan, just use san after the name or surname of the person you are talking to. So, that would suffice. So we will be back with lesson 25 soon. Till then, mata imasho.